got to be practical on this show, and we wanted to take you walleye fishing. The Saginaw River, Keith Lutz, has been producing walleye for that Shiver on the River contest.
Yes, it has.
Why didn't you take us there?
We've got some problems. This year, as it has been in the last couple of years, we've had some open water situations. The ice is very thin, and consequently, I felt it'd be a little safer to come out here to the bay. We got about 8 to 12 inches of ice out on the bay, and a lot less open spots.
A lot less open spots. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to meet. We have Tim and Jeff with us, who are our guides. We're going to meet you in just a moment out at the pressure crack out here to show you that even though the ice is thick, it can be a little iffy. So stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's time for the Practical Sportsman. We're not very far offshore here, but already we've encountered a first pressure crack. This is called a pressure crack, where the ice buckles up against itself, sometimes separates. We're looking down through here, John. I think you can see the water and the ground right there, the bottom. Keith, come here. Tell me, am I going in any danger stepping on this?
Well, that's some fairly thick ice right there, but the water isn't very deep at this point, at this pressure void here. But as we get out further, there are a number of these pressure voids as we go out farther and farther into the bay, and sometimes they open up, and that's why we're going to kind of watch the wind direction a little bit today, because this is the kind of day where if it got really, really strong, it could potentially break a chunk of it off and move the ice out. And then they have to get the helicopter rescue.
Yeah. So what we're looking at down here is, this looks like where the ice is jammed up. It's blown in.
It's pushed it in, and it's just literally butted right up against itself. Just mere pressure from wind coming in from the northeast on the bay, and it forces right against this ice, and it breaks it, fractures it, and then as you know, we get a wind direction from another direction, it breaks it apart, and that's how we get these fissures out here. And
now, what about this right here? We have a crack going down here. That's
another pressure void here. It's refrozen, you know, over the last few days, and you can see where the water's come up through it, and it's just refrozen in between. Those we don't worry about too much. It's the ones that are broken like this that are thin ice. They've just been frozen overnight. They might be 1.5 foot, 2 foot wide. You got to really be careful then. But when you go across, you could potentially put a snowmobile through them, and that's the ones we watch the most.
Now we're set to fish. We're out here a couple miles off of the state park here. We have the hot pond right down there. We are fishing, I suppose, what is this ice? Over a foot, 14, 16 inches, Keith?
14 inches ice, about 15 foot of water.
Okay, now the guy that I'm fishing with is not just your average Joe fisherman. I mean, last year you took the 5th largest walleye in the state.
That's right.
Last night, talk about should have been here yesterday. Last night you were out here fishing. There were 20 guys, you say, in your group. There were 4 walleye caught.
That's right.
Who caught 3 of them?
I did.
And not only that, we have a photo of this fish. You caught a walleye that it was, what, 12 pounds?
12, well, actually the first weight was 12.47. They waited at the Shiver the next day at 12.26 for official weight for the Shiver on the river. And from past records, I believe it's the largest one ever caught in the Shiver on the river in the past 6 years. And that put me in first place. So
you're in first place now. That's the fish to beat of all times. So everything the guy says, I'm going to follow. We're out here with a hole that is a double width hole because he plans on catching big fish. Show us how we're going to rig up, Keith.
Okay. Well, this is just your standard Swedish pimple. It's a white and orange color. The water's a little bit murky today, so you want to try to get as much flash and color down there to attract the fish. And this seemed to work real well yesterday. This is what I caught the 3 fish on yesterday. And I've got
this very lure.
This very lure. I'm letting you use it today.
I am honored. Okay, now this has the treble hook,
right,
with a trailer.
Yes,
which is another treble.
Yes, it's a stinger hook, we call it. I've got it attached right to the main hook of the Swedish pimple, and we're going to run the head of the minnow on the main hook, and then we're going to put the smaller stinger hook into the side of the minnow.
Okay, let's do that.
All right.
Now these are good-sized minnows that you have here.
Yeah, these are about 2.5, 3 inch minnows, and that's a fair size. That's about what we were using last night. You could use even a little bit smaller. Depends on the size of the fish. Usually when you catch one fish, if it's seemingly a little bit small, you know, maybe 2 or 3 pounds, then I usually go with a little bit smaller minnows, because that'll generally be the trend of the fish that are in the area. If you start going with bigger fish and the next fish you catch is a larger fish, then I'll start going with larger minnows. The chances are good that there's bigger fish in the area, and that's basically what happened last night. We caught, I caught one that was about 4, then I caught another one that was about 6 pounds, and then the last one I caught was they were all within about 40 minutes, so it's...
Okay, show us how you rig this.
Whoa! And they're slippery. Let's see here.
Live minnow, rigged on a Swedish pimple.
I'm going to just put it right through the lower part of the mouth and right through the top of the head. There, just like that. And then you try to get this stinger down as far down into the tail as you can. Just like that. Just put one hook in.
One hook.
And then you leave the other 2 hooks exposed.
Okay, so this walleye down there is looking at a Swedish pimple that imitates the fish, plus we have a very lively minnow. You have, it looks like about 1.5 feet of
There's a
leader.
Yep.
Now,
there's a barrel swivel on here. That's to keep the line from spinning and tangling up. If you didn't have this on there, if you jig for a long period of time, sometimes your line will get tangled up, especially if you use jigs that are direct tied right to the bait.
But I mean, it feels like this is the same weight line.
Yes, same weight line. It's just all it is basically just to keep the line from tangling up.
Darn good idea. Okay, now we drop it down in the hole. I get back here on my sled, bring my warm seat up here. So you like to use a open-faced reel? Is that your favorite ice fishing rig? A short rod with a open-face spinning reel?
Everybody has their own preference. I like a little bit longer rod actually than this one here. This is an extra one I brought along today for you to use, and something with some backbone to it, with a little bit of flimsiness in the tip, so that it could take the shock of the fish. It's not like bass fishing where you want to really set a hook hard. You're basically just putting steady pressure. When the fish hits the bait, you're just putting a steady full pressure, pulling it up, trying to get it up above your head to reel down to the fish, and just keep the steady pressure on it until you get him up to the hole. Most of the fish you can just literally pull right out of the hole. If you get a really big one on, of course, then you gotta get a gaff out.
Okay, now we start off on the bottom, near the bottom, a few inches.
I found out where the bottom is right here, so I've got the tip of my rod tip here is about 3-4 inches from the water, and that's about where you want to leave it as you're jigging. Sometimes you even go a little bit lower. What I do is I lift the rod up like this, about 2 foot, let it flutter down, and I'll do that about 5 or 6 times, and then just all of a sudden just let it stop dead.
You know what I just read in the paper? I'm not kidding you. I don't know if you read it in the paper this past Sunday, a big article on fishing off Linwood here, where we are. It said that the guys who jig up 1 foot or 2 don't catch much. Only the guys that catch, it's right there in the paper in black and white.
I understand that. There's a reason why this water out here is a little bit murky. So as the fish are on the bottom, when I lift that lure up in the air like that, and I'm not doing a radical jig, I'm just lifting it up and letting the bait flutter. The visibility is low, you can't see the bottom in this water out here. So what we're doing is we're allowing any fish that's within maybe a 20-foot radius of the hole to see that fluttering from up above. It's easier to see a bait coming down. That's why a lot of times you'll see guys drop their bait right down, and usually sometimes within the first drop they'll hit the fish, because the fish is right down there, he's seeing the bait coming down, he lunges for it, and he's got the fish on. So it just allows the bait to flutter down a little bit like that. I let it stop. That allows the fish, if he's right in the area, if he wants to lunge and hit it, he's going to hit it right then. And then I just do a little flick like that and try to keep it about 2 or 3 inches off the bottom. And that's the method I used last night.
Okay, so this 2 foot jig, what, once or twice?
I do it about 4, 5, 6 times. It just depends. Sometimes you do it a couple of times and stop it, especially if you feel something down there. If you hit something unnatural, let's say you're dropping your line down on a flutter like that, and all of a sudden the line stops right there. Well, and then it slides off something. Well, naturally you're going to think that's a fish down there or something down there.
So then you go to the shorter.
Then I just usually stop and just barely, flip the tip a little bit, and they'll usually hit it right off the bat if they're right there watching. Sometimes they'll just sit there and watch it for a while, and you just got to play with them. They get real finicky. We got a high higher pressure than what I'd like to fish. And you can't pick the days, but today's
You
about
mean higher air pressure barometric?
Yeah, it's a 30.40. That's pretty high for walleye fishing. So we'll just have to, they're going to be finicky, I think, today. I prefer more down below 30.00.
Oh, well, you know, I do 99% of my fishing with finicky fish.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Never any guarantee when you fish,
Yeah.
and I don't know. They've been doing really good out here. Some guys are coming out and doing exceedingly well, but you could be here, the fish could be 100 yards over there, and you may never, they may never school and come this way, or they may not come from that direction, come this way. You're just kind of, people are spotty here and there. That's why when they come in at night, usually when you're up at the parking lot, you'll hear some guys did really well. Other guys sat out here all night and never caught a thing, or never even got a bump. Other guys sat 20 feet from another guy and caught fish. So it's just.
One last thing before we get fishing. You said you came out here to white ice. There's different color ice that you can see. Some of it's fairly clear.
Well, it's a sunny day today. Fish, walleyes especially, like low light situations to feed in. And what it does is, as the evening or late afternoon approaches, this ice here will afford darker, environment underneath the ice than it will under the clearer ice that you see all around us. And during the daytime hours, the fish, when they go into a dormant or non-negative feeding mode, they'll harbor underneath these big white ice patches like this, and that's where we'd like to find them. We sit right on top of them like this. Sometimes they're here, sometimes they're not, but more times than not, I've been out here on a sunny day. This is where they're at. So
good enough for me. I'm going to follow your instructions to the T. You're going to go up there and fish?
Yeah, I'm going to fish down there a little bit. We're kind of spread out a little bit. Jeff's down that way, and Tim's a little bit to the southeast there. So
okay.
We'll just we'll work on it a little while, and we'll see what happens. Fish are funny. They're
hardy, har har.
Should have been here yesterday. So
okay, well,
all right.
Good. Well, thank you very much,
Okay.
Keith.
I'll give you the rod. I'll let you take over there.
Yeah. Set up here and get my gloves on. Fish! Fish! He's got one. All right. Oh, he does have a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, that's a nice one, too. Oh, Keith, my man. Look at that. And he took the stinger.
Yep, got it right in the lower part of the mouth there.
Awesome.
Try to get it out of there. Well, he wasn't getting off or nothing.
Okay, now what was it like? Was it a hard hit?
Yeah, he came right in and hit it hard. He just, as soon as I dropped it, it's on the lift, he hit it hard.
Boy, that's a nice looking walleye.
Yep.
Clean, no spots.
This is about maybe 2 pounds, maybe 3 outside, an outside
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Boy, we haven't been here very long either.
Yes.
I hope the whole day goes like that.
Able to get him? All right.
There it is. Finally.
Good man. Yeah, bring him on out here if you can. Yeah, I'll get a shot up there, Jim.
Trusty
That's a nice one.
It works.
Yes, good
About
job.
time. That's what they look like. Took me long enough.
What's that?
Big hog.
It's a big.
Yeah, big one. Yeah.
Is it a big one, you say?
Yeah, it's a big one. Here he comes. Oh, he's a good one.
Can we see him at all?
Oh, man. Oh, gee. How do you do it?
How you doing?
How do you do
Oh,
it?
that's a 7 or 8 pounder there.
Wow.
Oh, Fred, if you can.
Look at this.
I'm getting practice at gap.
I'll tell you what, we have our holes in the wrong spot. That's all I can say.
Oh, this one's got a tag on it too.
A tag?
Yeah, it's got one of the DNR tags when they tag them up in the Tittabawassee River at Dow Dam.
That's a good
Look at
sign.
that. That is, well, that's your third one.
Yeah.
I don't know how the man does it.
I don't either.
We're under kind of adverse conditions here. We have the three-wheelers with the lights on us. The sun has gone down. It's later than we were supposed to stay, Keith. You said we were going to be out of here an hour earlier.
Well, the bite came on a little bit late, and we really got into them just as darkness fell, and they were just going crazy there for a little bit. We pulled a couple limits of fish.
Okay, now, we pulled a couple limits of fish. There's 4 of us here. Keith pulled this limit of fish, and there's your big one.
Yeah.
Right there. That's 5-6 pounder?
Yeah, 5-6 pounds.
Tim, from his shanty, pulled this limit of fish right here with one that even looks heavier.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yeah,
you and me have nothing to show.
that's true.
That's fishing. That's the way it goes. But I tell you, we came out here on a great day. You done did it, Keith. And let me congratulate Tim. How many times before have you got your limit walleye fishing?
Never. The
Way
first
to
time.
go. Congratulations.
Thanks,
Hey, what a day it was. Boy, look at this dish. It looks like, I imagine, if you know your Italian dishes, we're talking lasagna here, but this is not a normal lasagna. This is called cheesy walleye lasagna that Lynette Cafola sent in. Now, Lynette, Bill just told me your husband, it was actually his idea.
Right. He's the idea person, and I'm the one that does all the cooking.
Okay. So where'd you get the idea to do?
Well, we wanted to come up with something different, so we tried salmon, and that was too rich. And we tried the walleye a few times, and tried to iron out the bugs. And we thought, well, we'll send it in and see what happens.
Boy, I tell you, it doesn't. I think if it was salmon, it would have more of a a fishier, oilier taste.
Fishier
But
taste.
boy, this sure
It's
doesn't
real
at all.
strong.
This, of course, normally in lasagna, instead of the walleye, we'd be eating hamburgers or something like that.
Good for vegetarian people.
Mm-hmm.
Something different.
So, how do you make it? Is there anything different about this than the lasagna, normal lasagna?
Well, what's nice is that you make up the fish, you boil it with a little bit of lemon juice, and then you flake it up and takes all the bones out of it. So you don't have to deal with any bones, so you can enjoy this and not have to worry about that. And then you make up a cream sauce with milk and chicken stock and a few extra. Cottage cheese is also in this, and it makes it really nice.
And that's
creamy.
in the stock?
I add that at last,
Okay.
so that don't cook, right with the sauce.
And some of the ingredients you brought here, of course, the spices, paprika, basil, your chicken broth, and jarred canned garlic. That's the kind you use? As
That or
opposed to
dried,
fresh?
but that's what I used.
She's a very good cook.
Now then, what is the procedure here on the lasagna? I know you layer it with the lasagna noodles.
Right. Lasagna noodles, and then I put a layer of the sauce. That's all in a separate pan. And then you have the fish, and there's also tiny shrimp in here.
Oh, there are?
Yeah, baby shrimp.
Yes, little baby shrimps in here too. And that's in another container. And then you layer the fish, and then you put the cheese on. And then, of course, you start all over.
Start all over with the layers. Oh, I can see the little shrimp in here, too. This is extremely mild.
It is, and it's different. Anybody that likes, seafood and that doesn't like the stronger taste would appreciate it.
So the scoop is that you say this is not best to cook it and put it right on the table.
No, actually it's not. Lasagna tends to be watery when it first comes out of the oven. It's best to leave it sit, half hour, and rewarm it, or the next day even, prepare it a day before, because it actually gets thicker as it sits, and it reheats very well.
So you actually recommend doing it the day before?
Yes, we recommend that. We've trialed and errored, and this is the best way to do it.
Cheesy walleye lasagna. Very different, very mild. Doesn't have the Italian flavor. There's no tomato sauce in
No,
this.
no tomato sauce.
Oh man, this is good. This is going to be a big hit with you folks if you give it a try. Well, Bill, thanks for the idea. And Lynette, you did a superb job of cooking it. Superb is the word.
Thank you.
Oh, Lynette's scrumptious recipe for cheesy walleye lasagna is in the new upcoming February-March Practical Sportsman magazine, which will be printed and in the mail to subscribers within 2 weeks. If you're not a subscriber, the address is coming up at the end of the show. Now, what's my practical tip for this weekend? If you're going out on the ice or to an ice festival, ice cleats, some type of ice cleats for your boots. This is what John Ford and I are going to be wearing at Perchville. The reason is the wind has blown the snow off the ice and it makes it very treacherous, very slippery. You don't want to fall. So take some ice cleats, get outdoors this weekend if you can. It's a great place to be. See you next week. This actually should be the first week we're offering the new February-March Practical Sportsman magazine. Editor Joanne Cribley has been working for the past 2 weeks on our new Macintosh computer system to prepare this new issue, and she sent it to the printer yesterday. Inside that magazine is a variety of articles about the TV show, including the recipe you just saw in tonight's program. Now, if you want that, just to let you know how this works, the mail that has been flooding in is opened every day by our staff, particularly Lois Marinangelis, Renee Hall, Tara Barnes. Some days that's been an all-day job. Anybody who sends the $4 has their label hand-addressed, and the magazine is put in an envelope and shipped out the same day, first-class mail. Those of you requesting a free copy, well, this takes a little more time. Some of your labels have been hand-addressed while Zachary Trost has been setting up the new computer system, and Tricia Johnson, our membership coordinator, is one of the people who have been starting over putting names into our new computer. This means that new subscribers who have signed up, either directly from us or through a pledge to your local public television station, are on the computer. Now, you'll be getting your issue mailed directly from the printer on a computerized mailing label within 2 weeks. Now, the reason we're still sending out the December-January issues to those of you who requested them is because it's been a rather cumbersome process. You can see we're doing all this by hand. Gary Botek, Mike Gray. In fact, right here they're doing the Hunting and Fishing Awards. Tim Farragon, Marge Farragon, Lori Cribley. They're working on the magazines, getting them sent out. Now, this is a cumbersome process, of course, but it's the result of a court order relating to the buck stop case. There's nothing we can do about that except to ask you to mail us your name and address, because we have to start our mailing list all over again. Now, if you made a pledge to your local public television station for the old Outdoor Digest magazine, your subscription will continue, but the court has barred me from offering to fulfill any of the regular subscriptions to the Outdoor Digest. And the Practical Sportsman will be here for you to enjoy for a long time, thanks to your continued support.